you got to be real with us here because we always hear Darby. I don't know if you and Whitfield kind of went at it, but it was more on track, right?
Right. Yeah. That was in high school. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we'd keep up with those. I remember we'd keep up. I know Nate definitely was, but we'd keep up with those races in high school and see who's gonna end up being the fastest because they were practically everybody was committed to Florida State, so all the fastest guys in the country. Who at FSU?
So at the time, so I will say, like step for step, if we did anything, like it probably was Darby, but outside of that, believe it or not, on the football field, I think it was LaMarcus Joyner. Like that. Listen, man, that dude
He's
practices
different.
exactly how he plays. Yeah, listen, man, I've never seen somebody with that intensity every day. Like I thought it was an act. Like obviously I would come to games on recruitment trips and see him play. And I'm thinking, it's game day, it's Saturday, you get hyped, whatever. But he was like that when I came in from like day one until like the end of the season. And I was like, bro, there's no way he's just discharged up on a daily basis.
Hey guys, it's Terrence Mann. You're listening to Hear the Spear presented by Nole Game Day. Go Noles.
Hey, what's up? This is Peter Ward, aka E-Dub, in the house. We're listening to Hear the Spear presented by Nole Game Day. Go Live, go Noles.
Hi, this is Charlie Ward, and you're listening to Hear the Spear. Go Noles.
This is Terrell Buckley. You're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by Nole Game Day. No Bloody.
But perhaps better known as the greatest corner to ever step on a football field, Deion Primetime Sanders.
Great Deion Sanders, my brother. What's going on, man? I could wake up to that greeting every day, man. That was awesome.
Hello, Noles fans. This is former Seminole Derek Brooks, and you're listening to Hear the Spear, presented to you by Nole Game Day.
James Wilder Jr. What's going on, James?
Thanks for having me on. FSOD, Florida State or Die, and go Noles.
William Bar None Floyd.
Gentlemen, what's up?
What is happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Hear the Spear, presented to you by NoleGameDay.com. We are here on a fantastic Thursday evening, and once again, we keep killing it with the guests this month. We're going to probably head into July with some more. But to finish off the month of June, we've got former Nole, Olympian now heading to the World Championships in the 100 meters, Marvin Bracy with us. I've been looking forward to this one. I've had him been connected through Twitter for a very long time, and now getting him on the show. I'm excited for this after just now qualifying for the 100-meter World Championship, which is going to start next month, middle of next month. Marvin, what's going on, man? Happy to have you on here.
What's going on, man? I'm thankful y'all got me. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Nate, you and I are big track guys. We like having track guys coming on to the football team. So let's jump it all the way back a little bit here, going back to FSU days. You end up signing with Florida State. What was your recruitment like going into that? Because that was a very, very special class. Not only did you come into town with that, but you came in also with Jameis Winston. You had Mario Edwards. You had Eddie Goldman. You know Darby real close too.
Yeah, that was our roommate.
Yeah, exactly. So what went into that recruitment? How did that go? Anybody who was in your ear maybe and getting you to FSU?
So coming into my before my freshman year, we all played in the Under Armour game together. So that's when I officially met Chris Casher, Mario Edwards, Jameis. Darby was on the team. PJ was on the team. So, and that was when Dustin Fowler was still committed to us. So we all got to connect there. But as for me, like the deciding factor really was I was really close with a guy at the time. Well, I'm still close with him, Ricky Yargrove. And he actually went to FSU. He triple jumped there like back in the past. And we had built like a really good relationship. And at the time, just everything about Florida State made sense. Like it was close to home. The track team was really good. The football team was really good. Like everything just lined up. Because actually, fun fact, I almost went to Texas A&M, but they fired the entire coaching staff, and I think Mike Sherman was still a coach. And so, like I said, everything pointed towards Florida State.
Yeah, I was going to say, did track play a big time part there? Because during that time, Florida State and the track and field team was kicking, and they're doing it again right now as we speak.
Right.
But I'm wondering I'm wondering if track played a pretty big part in that recruitment there, because you got a lot of hype. I mean, we're talking, Nate covered really heavily there at Scout that recruiting class for Florida State. And, you were a big time name just because primarily that speed that you would be bringing to somebody's offense. But I'm wondering if track played a huge part.
Oh, definitely. When I set out to go to college to play both, I let, both track coach and football coach at every school know I wanted to do both. Like I was going to do both. And obviously the people that it came down to agreed to that. So for me, I also wanted to go where there's a good coach, so that was good history. And at the time, Walter Dix is one of the most famous track athletes of all time. And so why would I not want to follow, in his footsteps or stuff like that? So it's like you just kind of look at the coaching history and, what they're currently doing. And, obviously accolades matter. And so all of that just factored into me saying, you know what, FSU is the place for me. Good football, good track. And obviously, they ended up winning the national championship in football. So we saw that win.
Mm-hmm. How was your relationship there with Jameis? I had a few people I was talking to this week. I was letting them know that we're going to have Marvin on this week. And a lot of them asked about Jameis, a few other players. But how are your relationships and friendships inside the locker room and outside the field? How'd that go with a few of those guys?
So, Jameis is he's really infectious as a person. So I think that the very first day of like the Under Armour practice, like they just gather all the athletes in. There's like a huge game room, whatever. He comes in and like off the bat, like he's just loud and like he knew everybody. He had everybody. He commanded everybody's attention in the room, and right then and there, like we knew like what type of person he was. Like it's like that's how he actually is. Like he really is a leader. So, I had the pleasure of being on his team. And I think we won like 56-10. So I was a happy man. But we just saw how the man just came in, and commanded a room amongst men who also want to command a room. So like he didn't put himself over anybody. So just dealing with him like right then, I knew what was getting once we got to Florida State. And he just kind of carried that on, and we saw the success that he had.
Yeah, I was wondering too. Also, the recruiting tool of Jimbo Fisher there. How was your relationship with Fisher? Obviously now at Texas A&M doing his thing, but how was Fisher as a coach for you on the football field?
As a coach, man, he's not for the weak. Like, listen, man, he's just not. You got to have some thick skin. Like he's willing to like pat you on the back, as much as he is to, let you know what you need to do better. But clearly he has the magic touch. The guy's getting it done, wherever he goes. So that just kind of says a lot about him as a coach and as a person.
Going outside of now FSU, what made you kind of have that decision? Hey, it might be time to go pro. And we see that a lot, even for some guys in high school now, they have that speed, they go ahead and get the chance, depending on what kind of offers they get and who they sign with, they'll take that jump. What kind of went with you? Was it just after one of the times that you ran, or what was your mindset in going, saying, hey, it's time to leave?
No, man. So I'll take you back, going into the decision, I'll take you back to like football. I think like the very first day of camp, the very first day I hurt my hamstring in one-on-ones, and I kind of missed some time. And admittedly, man, the offense that he ran was nothing like what I've ever experienced ever in my life. And at the time, it was kind of hard to like process it. So with me being behind injury-wise and me not really learning the offense like that, I came back like 2 weeks after being hurt, trying to like, reintegrate myself. And I just was maybe 70-80% on my hamstring. And I only retained half of the offense, if that. And so they decided to redshirt me, which was fine. It was just the best possible option, save me a year, whatever. So we get through the season. I get a little healthy. I come back out for track, and I end up getting hurt again. Hurt the same hamstring. And at the time, me and the then sprint coach wasn't really like getting along. Wasn't seeing eye to eye on a lot of stuff. And it's just I got to the point where like I won't say exactly what was said, but I just felt kind of played like, and just undervalued for like the athlete that I was. It was a little bit of ego, yeah, but it was a lot of pride. And so I got to the point where I was just like, you know what, man, like for me, I got to do what's best for me. And right now that's, taking this deal with Adidas, putting my family in a better situation, and what I'm saying, just going with what happens.
What
Yeah,
was the conversation
go ahead.
like with the football staff whenever you made that decision?
So I can remember, I think Jimbo was getting ready to go to the draft. And I went in and talked to him and told him just that, man, like I can't do this. Like it's just not. It take a whole different type of mentality to focus on both things, like doing football and track at the same time. It was hard for somebody who really hadn't had to deal with like anything like that. So I just made it, I made it easy on myself. So when I told him, like, he wasn't for it, but I think by the time he got back, I was gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I remember around that time, there was a lot of stuff going on with the track program where coaches were leaving. Might have been a little bit after, people like Sage Watson transferred. A lot of people left that track program. But that year at FSU, you mentioned the injury. I was going to ask you about that injury and how much it set you back. I remember hearing you hurt yourself early. But, I guess my first question is, do you ever look back and think maybe I should have hung on a little bit longer and see how it unfolded? Or
the day I had that thought was when I left track to decide that I wanted to go play in the NFL. So, I kept running into like people telling me, oh, well, he's good, but he doesn't really have any experience. And I'm like, I can't really get experience if nobody gives me the opportunity. And so, like, really sitting back thinking about that, I was like, well, you know what? I probably could have stayed in school and saw what happened, because I came out here with guys that are playing on Sundays and I'm making plays, be that it is practice. But I feel like, if I get comfortable in a game, maybe with an opportunity, something can happen. So it did make me feel good going out there against guys, like I said, that we see on Sunday, and I'm making plays and learning the system and all the stuff I could have done, as an 18-year-old. And so it started making me think, like, what if I would have stayed in college and kind of saw what happened? Obviously would have got a national championship. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I can only look back so long and accept what happened.
Yep.
Should have had the championship in 2012. But,
that is true.
We talk about that with almost every guest at the NC State game, in that travesty of a game.
I could, like, it's crazy because I could tell you exactly what I was doing when that happened.
What was going on at the NC State game?
Listen, so some weeks they would travel me and some weeks they wouldn't. So I would find out like that Wednesday or Thursday that I was going to leave with the team on Friday. So it had hit like Thursday and I ain't find out. So if I ain't find out, then I'm not going. It's NC State. Like, I'm assuming we're going to win anyway because of how good we're looking. I mean, listen, I made all kind of plans. I was going to have some fun. I'm watching the game. I'm getting my stuff ready. I think I was ironing my clothes, and like they score on the last. I'm like, we finna get to stop. They score on that play. I was like, oh my god. I literally just like threw it out the side of the bed and just went to sleep. Like I ain't even. I was sick. Like you'd have thought I was at the game. I was sick, man.
Yeah, no, that was close. We've had a lot, like Nate said, we've had a lot of guys on here talk about that game and how rough that was. I don't think it's not really a fun thing that they like us bringing up.
That was so bad, man.
That was a special team. Let's talk some racing here. Let's go back and talk about a little Ronald Darby, who maybe gave you the toughest time at FSU. And you got to be real with us here because we always hear Darby. I don't know if you and Whitfield kind of went at it, but it was more on track, right?
Right. Yeah, that was in high school.
Yeah. Who? Because we'd keep up with those. I remember we'd keep up. I know Nate definitely was, but we'd keep up with those races in high school and see who's gonna end up being the fastest, because they were practically everybody was committed to Florida State, so all the fastest guys in the country. Who at FSU?
So at the time, so I will say, like, step for step, if we did anything, like, it probably was Darby, but outside of that, believe it or not, on the football field, I think it was LaMarcus Joyner. Like that. Listen, man, that dude
He's
practices
different.
exactly how he plays. Yeah, listen, man, I've never seen somebody with that intensity every day. Like, I thought it was an act. Like obviously I would come to games on recruitment trips and see him play. And, I'm thinking, it's game day, it's Saturday, you get hyped, whatever. But he was like that when I came in from like day one until like the end of the season. And I was like, bro, there's no way he's just discharged up on a daily basis. Like, it was scary because I know you can see it on the other people's faces. That you might be tired. You might be, man, that man came to practice every day with like this every day on the field too. Like he's chasing a ball 100 yards. Like, I'm like, bro, like, you doing too much. Like, nah, man, you making us look bad, you know, because I catch the ball and slow down. You come through and tackle. Like, come on now.
He'd come in with some big time hits, but he would stay stride with you, going deep.
Not really going deep, but like he was so smart, man. Like, he just always knew where to be. And like people, like, they kind of taught me, like well, college taught me like football really was a game of angles. Because I mean, they get to a certain spot, like, man, there's only so much we can do. Because trust me, man, I got out of a lot of problems with some speed, but it's just some stuff it can't save you from. So now, like, just not just from a football perspective, it was him, but step for step, the only person that could run with me was Darby.
Yeah, now I can see.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
What's the difference between football speed and track speed? You know, some guys that get recruited, they have that track speed that doesn't necessarily carry over to the football field.
I want to bring up a play here like Carlos Williams. Like, how does that compare with Los? Like, that guy can run. I mean, we saw in the 2013 national championship running.
So when you look at players like Los or even a Darby, like, it almost looks unreal because you can wonder how somebody that's 6'3", 225 moves, you know, on the balls of his feet that fast. And so when you look at players like Tyreek Hill has like track speed. Like, I've watched him get on the track and show me that same, you know, caliber of running. But a lot of football guys, you know, you think about it, they train for 40 yards. So if my calculations are correct, 40 yards is like 36 meters. Like, we're driving, like, track athletes are driving for 36 meters. Like, that's the beginning of our race. We still got a whole, you know, another 60 to 70 meters that we gotta, like, so track speed is more so just, it just looks stronger. Like, it doesn't look as like fast paced because it's effortless. Like, Carlos really ran effortless and he was a big dude. So it was even more impressive. Whereas, like, you see some of these track dudes, like, they'll break open a 60-yard run and get caught. Why does that happen? Or football dudes, they'll break open a 60-yard run and get caught. You're like, well, he's fast. Yeah, but he's used that from 0 to 10, whereas we've stretched that from 0 to 30. So it's really different, man. Because like DK running 10:37, like, it had everybody impressed. We was like, okay, like that's pretty good for somebody his size and not really training for track and field. Like, that's like that, we can respect that. But think about like 9'7", 9'8" wins races.
Yeah, I think you made a good point though too. You know, people make a lot of big deal about the 40, but it's a trained exercise more than anything. I think it's all about you train your start. Your first 10 yards makes you 40. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but you know, the long speed I think is what makes the difference. Why Tyreek Hill is so ridiculous in the NFL. You know.
It's crazy, man. It's
like
wild.
Tyreek Hill can get away from people and stay away from people. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't when he gets around you, he doesn't come back. Like, there's no maybe I might keep hustling. Like, it's gone, bro. Like, if
it's bye
blow the angle, just stop running. Yeah.
Yep.
You're screwed. What's like a training day like for you, diet wise and also workout wise? Definitely as you're preparing for this world championship. What does that look like for you?
Well, at this part of the season, I mean, the foundation's been laid. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been training since October. So the base work is done, the sprint work is done, everything is done. Like, we are just, at this point, it's just like fine tuning. Like, it's every day feels like a walkthrough, if that makes sense. If I can put that for my, you know, my football people, it's like, it's not gonna be like nothing is really strenuous. Like, you only touching the gas a couple of times, just making sure, you know what I'm saying, the tires are inflated. I don't know, just everything is just it's just like it's just prep for a big track meet. There's no more like actual working out.
Do you ever get nerves going into some of these? I know you've competed in the Olympics. You've been competed in some big time races, the premier type kind of races in track and field. Do you ever get Any kind of nerves in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, race day. I usually wake up with I wake up with some nerves. But I think it's like the good kind of nerves though. Like because I still care when I go out there. So just for me, it's still fun. It's still fresh. Being able to walk away and come back. I've already saw big races early in my career, so I'm never scared out there. It's just like practice to me, and just with people. So once you go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, once you just got into that mentality in the sport, it makes running in bigger races a lot easier.
I want to ask a little bit about coming up the World Championship, and I kind of ask long questions. Dustin kind of teases me a little bit about it, but the Jamaicans have dominated the last
decade.
More than that, I think. But it seems like American track is kind of making a comeback. You have Curly, you have Bromell, and then you have Noah Lyles in the 200 and Area Knight, and it seems like there's a lot of really young guys that are primed to kind of take it back. So what are your thoughts of how that World Championship went? It's really competitive in that final, and how you feeling going into that World Championship? Sorry, the U.S. Championship was competitive, not the World Championship. But
yeah,
how you feeling about?
So for me, I love to see it, man. I love to see that everything is so wide open. Think about it, when as a fan of a sport, when you watch a race, do you really want to know who's gonna win all the time? Yes, it's nice for people to be dominating their sport. We only get so many of those athletes, but you got to think about the majority are a lot of people working hard to achieve the same thing. So Bolt was just a special talent, man. That it was nothing we can do about that one. He's just it was like Jordan, you know what I'm saying? He's like LeBron. It's nothing you just gotta wear it. Yeah, just you know what I'm saying. You get in where it was just nothing we can do about it. And so with him out of the way, with him retired, and a lot of the older guys retiring as well around his era. It's just nice to see a bunch of young guys fighting for the same things and making it more competitive. That's what sports really is about, competition. So, as a track fan, as one of the athletes that's competing, it's nice to know that, I got a legit shot to go in there and get a world title. So to see, everything, go how it does, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I'm a big time, got the shirt here. I'm a big time Usain Bolt fan. And I agree with you though, in that regard of, you just always know, hey, and I got a question too to ask about Bolt too. I don't know if you've ever been around him or anything, but have you ever had any kind of situations with him and talk with him any? I don't know what he comes off as behind the scenes.
No, he's actually he's a really down to earth, really cool guy, man. You can actually walk up and have a conversation with him. And not right now. Please stop. Not right now. You can have a conversation with him. He's a really nice dude. We actually in 2016, accidentally, for his birthday, we all ended up in the same club, and he was really cool about it. But I don't have really I'm not really in their camp like that, so I don't really know too much about him.
Yeah, no, with those races too, I think the thrill of him going to break world records, I think, is what everybody in the Olympics wanted to watch. That's the reason why they were in the stands. But now, the reason why there's people in the stands, there's so many guys that can go here now and take away the 100-meter world championship. Who do you think is going to give you, either in the U.S. or across the seas, going to give you the biggest kind of competition here?
Respectfully, I think that there's a lot of guys that can come and I guess make a shot at the belt, but obviously right now, right here in America, I just experienced somebody running 9.7, so right now he's the guy to chase. He's the fastest time, he's really consistent, so right now that's who we that's 9.76 is, he laid the mark. So if that's what he's capable of going, then we got to be able to go that or faster to go and beat him.
Do you think that's around that time that's going to take to win World Championship?
Yeah, honestly, if I'm being honest, in that stadium, the way it's set up, it produces fast times, and I think it's gonna take something incredibly fast to win that race.
I want to go back, and I believe, and I might be completely wrong on this because it's been a little while now, but the last Olympics and you trying to qualify for that, you went through, I believe, an injury. Was it the same hamstring when you were going to qualify for the last Olympics? Because I believe I was watching that too, and I was extremely pissed off. I'm pretty sure I was tweeting about it, but I was pretty ticked off about it because I felt bad for you, and I thought that you were having a really strong season. Was that how was that going through that? Because I'm sure that was pretty hard mentally on you.
Yeah, no, man, it was definitely tough. I think at about 30 meters in the semifinals, I kind of feel like tightened up a little bit, and I just pulled out, man, because I thought, I didn't want to make it worse. So I think I ended up getting the proper treatment that I needed, and then I came back out like my first race out and not my first race out. A couple of races later, I ran my personal best again. So I ended up running like 9:85 in like Memphis. So to come back and run like that, off of an injury, it just let me know more about myself than anything else. Like to fight through that type of adversity. At this point, there's nothing I can't really go through.
Dustin, we're gonna ask something.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what's the difference between preparing mentally and physically for a football game versus one of these events? Because a football game, it feels like you kind of have a chance to settle in throughout 4 quarters, whereas one of these races, it's over in just a couple of seconds. It's start, go, stop.
Man, it's so different. Football is really more. It's really more like mental. Like it really is. Track is more mental, but football is like physically you're gonna be what you're gonna be. If you're tired, like your body ain't gonna let you do so much, but you have 10 other people on the field with you at a time and a coach to kind of help you like through it. Like they can mask certain stuff, they can scheme for certain stuff. So it's like you kind of have more of a cushion. You know what I'm saying? Like even if you don't have a good game, y'all can still win.
Mm-hmm.
So like track, it's like 10%. Like it's like 10% physical and like 90% mental, because it's like if you've gotten yourself there physically, like training wise, then like if you truly believe in what you're gonna do, then you're gonna go out there and execute, and it makes running so much easier. But everybody doesn't get to that mode, which is why on any given day, everybody doesn't run the absolute fastest. There's a reason why somebody is going to get 8th, because we all go out there and execute to our potential. Like it'll be a better race, but you got some people that are just a little sharper. So you just try to get there like mentally and know that like everything is going to click. And if you put it all together, then fast times will come. And that's where your confidence comes from.
That's a good question. I was going to ask something like that, Logan.
Yeah, I was going to say one of your strongest talents is indoor too, and this is from a question on YouTube from Coach Ortiz asking you, what do you enjoy more, indoor, outdoor, and why? Also, how can you break down your phases in the 100 meters?
So for me, I used to like in the beginning of my career, I loved indoor more. Like obviously it was shorter, less running, and training was easier. But as I've my resurgence in track and field has gave me a greater appreciation for like outdoor and mastering the 100, because that's the event that everybody loves and adores and cares about. Like it'll always be a high class event, like no matter how fast or how slow the times are. And as far as breaking down my phases for the 100, so now that I'm a lot stronger than I used to be, now that I trust in my abilities a little bit more, we've kind of stretched the race out. So like I've naturally always had a good start. So from about 0 to maybe 30, 35 meters, it's just my drive phase. Like I'm pushing as hard as humanly possible while like slightly picking up the pace. Like it's very hard to explain, but like with each step, you're trying to get a little bit more violent, but not as violent as you can be. And then at about 35 meters is when like I'm hitting it. Like I'm giving it everything I got until I can feel myself no longer accelerate. So you're only accelerating for like 4.5 seconds if you're really like that. So that's going to give me about 50 meters, if that. So I'm at about 80 meters. So the last 20 meters, I'm just hanging on and trying to make sure I execute certain positions, because if I can get my body in certain positions, once I strike the ground, it's still going to feel like I'm propelling myself forward, even though I'm getting no faster. So at about 80 meters, everybody's just trying to hang on. So nobody's getting faster. Somebody's just getting slower, a lot slower than everybody else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. You've been able to travel to a lot of these races too. What's your favorite venue to play at?
I think so far Monaco was probably my favorite place to race.
Oh, damn.
Like it was probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen, man. Like you could see the money. It's just how beautiful it was.
You could see the yachts.
Like you can see it's nothing but yacht. Yeah, man. Like it was different. It was different than I've ever seen. So I think Monaco, just for like the atmosphere, like the track is great, and they like the meat promoters put on a really good race.
I was gonna say, yeah.
When did you know, like you had this ability? You know, like one in a few. When did you know you had this?
I figured that out in my sophomore year of high school. So I did not run track as a freshman. Like I didn't play football as a freshman. I didn't run track as a freshman. I played football as a sophomore, but I was on like JV, and I didn't even get moved up. But that's another story. So I joined the track team. Like I had some friends that was like, "Hey man, like join the track team with us. Like you kind of fast, but it's like all right, cool. Like I ain't had nothing better to do. I joined the track team." So he would not let me run 100 like all year, and I kept like begging the man, like, dude, like I don't want to run a 200. 200, I don't like the 200. It's not my race. But I would like win the 200. So he was like, all right, I'll let you run 100 next week. And I think I ran like 10.8, and everybody was making like a big deal about it. So then the very next race was the very next week. I ran 10.76, and again, people start making a bigger deal about it. So then I went to the district championships, and I ran 10.58. And now I'm getting the questions of like, where have you came from? Because I mean, also I was at a predominantly white high school, so you know what I'm saying. Like everybody's like, hold on, how did you just get dropped in? Like what? No, like you don't just run that fast out of nowhere. So the next week at the regional championships, I won. I think I ran 10.41 or 10.42.
Damn.
And then obviously now I'm being called the favorite or whatever for the state championship, and I go and I ran like 10.19. But I had like a 2.8 win. So then when that happened, everybody was like, all right, like, come on now. And so I think like 3 or 4 days later, I played in our spring football game and I scored like 3 times. And then that's when everybody was like, oh, he plays football too. And that's kind of how like everything got started.
Were you getting offers pretty quickly or getting calls and emails after that state championship?
Literally, like the next morning, my coach called me. And he was like, "Hey man, LSU and Florida and Miami all talked to me about you last night." And I'm like, "What do you mean talk? Like, what do you mean talk to you about me? What does that mean?" And he just kind of explained to me the process and just kind of how it works and like what people officially offering me and stuff. But Florida State actually was my very first official offer.
Damn, wow, that's awesome. I didn't even know that.
Like as soon as like the thing window hit, like they faxed it over to the school, and that's how long ago it was because they faxed it.
Damn. Yeah, I was about to say, hey, you're not that old. You're not that old. I was gonna ask, how longer do you think you're gonna be running track? Do you think this is gonna go for you think that at least the next Olympics, which would be 24, if I'm correct, for the Summer Olympics?
Yeah. So there's actually there's a World Championship in 2025. And I think that, I would consider then, kind of how my career has gone, but I kind of want to make it to 2025. Like, I feel like I've robbed myself, of a couple years, trying to play football and everything not going my way and not even really giving track my all when I was here the first time. So, I've dedicated my career to doing that. And I'm really just going to be here until I'm not here, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But if I've won, some medals from here to 2025, I can rest my head knowing I did everything I could. And it's just time to sell off.
I absolutely love the 4x1. And I know obviously 100 meters your favorite, but what do you think about the 4x1? Because that is one of the most exciting things to watch on television as being a fan of track and field and running in the past. 4x1, there's something different. That and 4x4, I think, are some exciting stuff, man, when it's on TV and televised like that. Do you enjoy the 4x1 and do you like do you like anchoring?
Yeah, so the 4x1 actually was my it was probably my favorite event. Because like it's just like the 100 is the 100 was fun, but it was just nice to be a part of the team aspect of track and field. I mean, our team wasn't that good in high school, so I would get a baton in like sixth and have to go run people down. So like that just became like a normal thing. Like it became a game. Like how many people can I catch today?
Mm-hmm.
So no, I definitely love the 4x1. I wouldn't mind anchoring. We're actually in talks of like how everything's going to go now. We have a relay camp coming up soon that we'll get some work in or whatever. So I'm excited about that, man. It's nice to, hopefully we can, be one of the USA teams that get it right.
How do you think that team looks? If you had to,
like
say it right now, how's that 4x1 team look?
Oh, I think he might be getting a phone call. But yeah, no, I'm also wondering what country might be the biggest competition there for them, because I haven't really caught up with the Jamaican side. I want to say, I forget who in the Olympics did really well this past
that French
Olympic
guy.
summer. Was it the French that did really well?
France.
Yeah.
China.
There I go. Sorry.
There you go. Now you're back. Yep, got you. Go ahead.
Yep.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
Yeah, who is going to be your biggest Well, how does y'all's 4x1 team look now? Who do you think, with the guys that you have, and then also who do you think is going to be your biggest competition outside of the U.S.?
So Christian Coleman has the bye, so he's automatically on the team for World Championships because he was the previous world champion. You got me, Fred, and Trey will all be in the 100 as well, so we'll have 4 Americans in the 100.
Wow.
And as far as the 4x1 goes, we don't really know the order. Like, I mean, I can kind of guess maybe you got Christian on the first, like he has a really good start. You got myself and Fred, who will probably take going in straightaways. I don't know if it'll be two for me or 4 for me, and then Trayvon. But I mean, you can really play with it because all of us can do pretty much anything as far as running. So however they want to tweak it. Like I think Christian Coleman will probably be the starter though.
Who runs the better turns?
I want to say Fred. Like Fred has a lot of experience in the 200s, so he does run a lot of turns. But I mean, the guy's like 6'3". You don't really want to like waste that on a turn. Like you want to keep him on a straightaway, opening up his stride. So it'll come down to, me or Trey doing a turn. I mean, we both kind of got the same experience as far as running 200s. I mean, he's ran faster than me, but I mean, it's only 100 meters, so that really doesn't matter how fast he ran in the 200 as far as the turn goes. But I train with him, and he's a really good turn runner. And I think he wants to run third, so it'll just make everything easier for everybody.
You've obviously been around some absolute legends. We're talking in track and field. I think you came in at a perfect spot to see a lot of these veterans. You had Jamaica Johan Blake, obviously, bold in what he did. Then you had Walter Dix at home here at FSU. I mean, you had a whole ton of great veterans that you could work your mind off. Is there anybody that kind of you idled, that you use to kind of get you in the game a little bit mentally?
So I trained with Tyson, actually. I trained with Tyson Gay at 19 years old. So for about 3 years there, I got to work with him and just kind of see him work and see him operate, man, and see how professional he was and how he treated track and field. And some of it rubbed off on me, but at the time, man, I was so young that I was still caught up in being just myself so much that I didn't really adjust my lifestyle to be like that, to attain those things. And I thought it's any young person, we think we can do anything our way. I can take some of your parts and still do my thing and it'll mesh because we think we have the perfect way. But that just wasn't the case. I did have success. I did do some things, but learning from that guy, man, was everything, because he's an American record holder. Right now we're chasing his American record. So to see him operate and to see somebody run that fast and just kind of what they do, it's not surprising to me that, I am capable of those things. And now I see what it takes to get there.
It's race day, it's the finals. What are you listening to in the earphones? What gets you hyped up?
I think it dropped. I think someone, hey, Popular Man. And I forgot too that the World Champions are going to be in Oregon this year too. So I wonder if that plays any part, if he likes traveling or not traveling into some of these World Championships, because being able to bring in 4 U.S. guys on the 100 meter, that's impressive. That is definitely impressive. I'm interested to see how.
Yeah, it's a reemergence of U.S. track and field, man.
And I'm here for it.
I'm back. Here I go. Yeah, sorry, man. I had to put it on airplane mode.
No, you're good. You can ask it again, Nate. No, you put on airplane mode.
It's race day. What are you listening to in the earphones that gets you, in that mindset, gets you pumped up?
So I've struggled with being like too pumped up on race day. Man, I remember one race, I woke up like listening to Tupac, and I think that I just kind of fried my. I kind of listen. I'm talking about 8 a.m. going to breakfast listening to Tupac, and I think I just kind of like fried my circuit, man. And by the time I got there, like I was just way too pumped up. But sometimes I listen to a bit of like R&B in the morning to just kind of keep me relaxed. Like I can save all my energy for the warm up area / the race. So once I get but once it's time to kind of like start getting ready to head to the track, like the music gets a little bit more upbeat. And by the time it's time to warm up, like I'm listening to probably like some NBA Youngboy or Lil Baby or something that's just gonna get me going. Like it's all gas from here.
Yeah, honestly, that was one of the hardest things is like when it's race day, like you want to race and you already have your times posted and everything, so you know when you are going to race. But sometimes waiting out there, at least in high school, just waiting there in the locker room or just chilling outside and just sitting there and watching everybody else race, that was one of the hardest things, just to conserve that energy, because you kind of just want it. I would way rather just race right off the bat, first posting times. It sucks waiting.
Same for us, but no, actually, fun fact, I ran a race in China at 10:05 p.m.
Damn.
So like I only had one race that day, just one race, and it was at 10:05 p.m. their time. So that was like 10:05 a.m. for you. Listen, man, like for us, it's even worse because like in high school, at least you're at the track, like you get to see the stuff going on, you get to watch races and stuff.
Yeah.
As a professional, if I race at 5:15, I'm leaving the hotel. I gotta get to the track 2 hours before. You get there 2 hours before. They have a call. It will have what's called a call room. So the call room, literally, they can call you 30 minutes before the race. All runners have to report to a certain place, and they can like check you in, make sure they walk you to the lanes, like stuff like that. So let's say if I race at 5:30 or 5:30, the call room is at 5 o'clock. I've gotten to the track at 4:30, or 3:30. I'm sorry, and so like I have to sit for about 30 minutes and start warming up, and like everything is like on a schedule because you want to make sure like you're at a certain part of your warm up at a certain time so that you don't have to kind of like rush, because that's how people get hurt. So if I start warming up at 2:30, like at 3:30, I'll be done, and getting ready to prep for the race and stuff. So it's a lot that goes into it, man. It's very detail oriented.
So what's it like running that fast? I don't know if anyone's ever asked you. Like, it's got to feel different, Like you probably don't even feel your feet hit the ground.
See, okay, so I mean, you know how they say like the calmest part of like a tornado is like in the eye, like in the center? That's what it's like for us. So it's like, to me, it really doesn't feel that fast. Like I didn't feel like I was moving that fast. Like you really don't feel that until like you're really racing people. But even then, like you gotta think about it. You can't count to 9.85. So that's how fast like it comes and goes. So the gun goes off, and then 9 seconds later, I'm somewhere else. Like you really just, you don't feel it. You just run, man, and whatever happens. Like you'll know if you're uncomfortable and if it's not a fast run, but like when you're comfortable and like you hitting and clicking on all cylinders, you don't really feel yourself moving that fast. Like it feels like it's going in slow motion, and that's when we run the fastest.
Do you like count steps in your mind?
No,
how many steps you need?
No, I mean some people can. No, you just because I think when Bolt broke the world record, he took like 43 or 44 steps, something like that, maybe less. But like you don't have time in 9 seconds to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You just go, man, and you execute phases. Like like we practice what a certain run should look like. So if you can get in a race and you do that exact run from practice, then you're gonna be good every time. But you gotta think about like most people in the heat of battle, like when you got somebody next to you to do that, like you're not as comfortable because it's a race. So like you have to like hone in and still kind of execute that same race with people next to you, not even worried about it. Like, you know how they have like horses put on blinders, like something like that. Like you have to put on your blinders.
Yeah, I'm watching this. Which race? I don't know if you can see it on your screen, Marvin.
I can see it now. Yeah, it's kind of choppy.
Here we go. I'll bring it back. I'm trying to see because you're one of your strengths is your get off and your start, correct?
Right.
Yeah, and this one, I feel like if this will ever load for me, I don't know. Whenever we go streaming, everything just decides to just stop working. But this one right here, I think this was a 986. I don't know where this is at. I don't know where's this at.
It was in Zagreb, Croatia.
Croatia. Okay. Yeah. See, now that seems like a pretty decent start. Was that a good start for you in this race?
Yeah, that was actually a really good start.
A really good one. Yeah. Do you think? Yeah. I mean, going into this championship, I just looked. Y'all are going to be competing in the U.S. Do you think you have an edge there because it's in the U.S. or does that really even matter? Do you think that's just all bogus BS?
No. I mean, in a lot of cases, that hometown, home field advantage, it matters. Like, it helps a lot. It really also be about the travel, man. Like, you got to realize, like, when we go to these places, so for World Indoor Championships, it was in Serbia. What city? I forgot what city it was, but Belgrade. It was in Belgrade, Serbia. So the championship started on the 18th. I think I had to go over there. Like, I had to leave my house and fly to Croatia, fly to Serbia on the 13th. Actually, on the 12th, and I got in on the 13th. So then I had to like kind of let my body come back down and then kind of like, acclimate myself to like their time zone and everything. So I got to fall asleep on their time zone and everything, and prep myself for 3 rounds of the 60 in the same day to run as fast as I can. So it's just nice to kind of have the advantage of like travel where like I'm in the US, like I ain't got to go that far. We don't have to travel for 15, 16 hours. Like we going up the road. So that, having, the crowd on our side, like I think that'll be big because you think about like all these races are in Europe somewhere and we're not from, we're not from there. So they love certain athletes, but here every athlete is going to get some love. Like I think that'll matter. And just hometown pride, man. Like we get it on our soil. Like it's very competitive. It's going to feel us to do the best we can.
Mm-hmm.
How much weight you carrying?
Right now, maybe 175 pounds. I think maybe race day 172.
Mm-hmm. That's where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten a lot stronger. So I used to race at about 168, 169. And I mean, I'm up from there. Obviously, actually, when I went to play football, like I never just got all the way back down there, but I continuously got stronger. And so the strength to weight ratio is working right now. So I think about 175 is like, where I need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's moving still at that weight. That's just wild how fast these guys can move. Just one last thing for me, thoughts going into the championship. I know we've talked about it a ton, but what are you expecting from yourself with this? Because, that was a pretty interesting qualifier there that you just went through, and the guy ran really well. But what do you think you're gonna stand with that? I know you see a guy moving that fast. Do you feel like you got to move that fast? It all depends on the day and the race and everything. But what's your mindset?
No, man. One thing about this sport is like, I relate to football. With football, if a team has a strength, all you do is just, you do everything in your power to take away the strength. Unfortunately, in track and field, we can't do that. So when a guy's running really good, all you can do is up your game and run a better race. Like I didn't run the best race I could run, which, gets me excited because I know that I have more in store and I can be up there. If I'd have ran the best race I ever ran and that's what happened, like it'd be a different story. I'd be like, well, what do I improve? Because I gave it everything I had. So no, you just, I've watched the race probably 1,000 times by now. I've broken it down 1,000 different ways and I see what I need to do better. And it's just about, challenging myself to be able to go in there, under those lights, with, the whole world watching, to just execute, the race that I know I can execute. Because right now I know that, with a good race, 985. So what can I do with a great race?
Mm-hmm. And do we have an exact day on when we should keep an eye out for the 100-meter qualifiers? I don't know.
So the qualifiers, or the first round will be on July 15th, and then we'll come back the next day on the 16th and run the semifinals and the finals.
Okay. So I'll have 2 or 3. Hopefully, we'll have 3. I'm just praying. I think if you're a threat if you just stay healthy. I mean, I feel like that's how it's kind of been throughout your career. If you can if things stay healthy and things are kicking there, then I think we're putting a pretty good spot. That'd be incredible, man, to get on that podium there. Definitely up there in Eugene. That would be some badass stuff, man.
No, listen, man,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, man, we're on the same side there, man. It's just it always sucks when like stuff like that happens because if you don't have an indicator, like you just can't stay in front of it. Like you just and that's the nature of this game. It's all health. Because like they always say your best ability is your availability. So some people just have better luck with stuff like that. Some people are just better prepared. So we're taking all the necessary steps to make sure little nicks and knacks like this don't happen when we need them to not happen the most. So I can attest to you that everything has been done, and we'll be fine.
Sounds good to me. I like that. I like hearing that. So everybody, if you're listening right now, I'm sure we'll be covering and watching it too. But Marvin Bracy will be competing starting on July 15th in the 100-meter race, and we'll see. I think we're going to do pretty good though. Everybody's pulling for you. I know here, at least in Tallahassee, and definitely U.S. will. I'm glad that y'all got a home crowd too. For once, man, you get a home crowd. It's gonna be lit.
Once, man, like that's that's gonna be fun, man.
It's gonna be lit. Well, Marvin, I appreciate you hopping on here for practically an hour and everything, and we'll keep in touch. And man, if you hit that podium, we're getting your ass back on here. Just letting you know.
Yes, sir. No, we can do that, man. We'll definitely do that, man. I definitely appreciate y'all having me, man. It's nice to meet all y'all, and I look forward to speaking with y'all soon.
Absolutely, man. Have a good one, and
best of luck, Marvin.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Marvin. Good luck.
Yep. Awesome stuff there. And then we bring in definitely not a 100-meter qualifier in the World Championships. Austin Veazey here is now with us.
Yeah, no shot.
That hip ain't gonna do it.
Hip, knees, ankle, anything.
This man's got an 80-year-old body.
What do you think, Logan? You're pretty confident against Lowe's, but could you beat Marvin Bracy?
No shot. I'm lucky that Carlos has like an extra 40 or so. Maybe, I'm not knocking on Lowe's here, but maybe another 50 pounds on me right now. But on Bracy, I'm not having a chance. I'm not having a chance whatsoever. I didn't bring it up. I thought y'all would, but luckily didn't have to be brought up in front of Marvin. I don't think.
I thought about it, but he seemed too respectful to go in on you, so I was like,
he's family, so he'd probably be nice and say that I'd have a chance if I had a 40-meter start, maybe. But yeah, no. Best of luck representing the U.S., man, 100 meters, and looking at some of those times internationally, there's a shot. Definitely can get on that podium. If not,
so that 9.7 is the time.
Yeah, and he said that he didn't run his best. He felt like he didn't run his best, and that was one of his best. He said that he can potentially go up there. You run a better time than that, you can get gold. So we'll be keeping an eye on that next month, July 15th, up there in Eugene, Oregon. Let's get over to the football side and get started here. A pretty busy week overall. We'll start off with the ACC making some changes there, going under the 3-5-5 scheduling model, which will eventually be eliminating division starting in 2023, making sure everybody knows that this is not going to affect this upcoming season. It will go into effect next year. There are Florida State's three permanent opponents will be Clemson, Miami, and Syracuse. Those will face each other annually. Now, the new model means that the Florida State Seminoles will play every ACC school every other year. Any initial thoughts from this? I don't really find much of a problem with it. I personally, just going over to one of the sides of it, I personally like the best two teams out of the conference get to play in the ACC championship just for it makes sense. It makes more sense for views and ratings and watching it, and interests me more than watching maybe a 2013 Florida State team facing a Duke in an ACC championship. That I just know is going to be over in the first or second quarter. And I don't mind Syracuse. I would maybe like Boston just to go visit, but I'm never going to go to Syracuse anyways.
Should have been
so
Georgia
it doesn't
Tech.
bother me.
Should have been Georgia Tech. That's the natural, regional rival. Syracuse doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I think the only reason they did is to spread the national brand. If you stay Southeast, you can only spread Southeast, but if you try and spread the Northeast brand a little bit.
Yeah, it seemed pretty standard overall. I do like that Florida State's going to be able to actually play every team in the conference every other year from here on out. It feels like forever since, I don't, when's the last time that they played Virginia? I think it's been 3 or 4 years at this point, and maybe even longer for some other opponents.
For 2020.
I don't think it was 21, but yeah.
2020.
There's teams that they haven't played in a couple years, and matchups you don't get to see that often anymore, and I think that'll only help the conference.
Yeah, I think The Athletic posted in the article before last season, the last time Florida State had played in Chapel Hill at North Carolina was like 2009. And now it's going to be every 4 years. And for me, that's great. You know, I'm live up here in North Carolina. There's going to be very few years where I don't get at least 2 games up here. I think that's great for people that don't live in Tallahassee. I think it's great.
I think it doesn't matter because FSU needs to get out of the conference.
Also that.
We'll see what happens with that.
You know, that's another discussion for another day, but you know, USC and UCLA be open up the Pandora's box, you know, create chaos and let's see what happens.
Yeah,
but
should they leave? Should they leave, Nate? I saw
Yes,
the
they should
tweet.
leave.
I saw the tweet. What would be the pros? The pros for Florida State leaving the Atlantic
Because
Coast Conference.
The conference sucks, for one. Monetarily, you know, to compete with everyone. Right now, you need money, and 3, the ACC sucks. 4, the ACC sucks. But no, I mean, you know, I think that in 5 to 6 years, it's going to be a completely different, you know, spectrum of college football. It's going to be, I think, 4 conferences, tops, and we'll see how that looks, you know. And FSU, they got to get into the SEC or the Big Ten to stay competitive. You know, the Big Ten, they had more financially on the TV packages in the SEC, I believe, last year.
It's just tough with these TV deals right now because I think the ACC won't sign to like 2036. I think is what the year is, and that's really tough to renegotiate and try and get the money figured out. FSU would owe a lot of money if they try to back out, you know, anytime in the near future.
I think at this rate, you know, I think that, you know, I think there would be chaos where you have these conferences trying to, you know, they'll pay the buyout or something. You know, there's going to be something that happens because you're going to have I would say 2 handfuls of teams that are going to be looking to move around to stay relevant. You know, not just FSU, Clemson, Miami. You know, UCF. You know, they're joining the Big 12, right? In 2025.
Yep. No, next year.
Was it next year?
Yep.
So I mean, it's an arms race, and you know, Florida State. You know, if they got to pay a $500 million, that's a lot of money, but a $50 million fine. So,
we need the Spanx lady now.
Yeah, now.
Where's the Spanx lady at? We need the 500 milli now.
If it's $50 million, it's $50 million. Figure it out. You know, I mean, this is it's gonna get crazy, and I think the ACC is gonna get left behind.
Yeah. Well, you see what happened obviously today with the USC, UCLA news and what they're planning on doing, and seems to be an effective kind of immediately thing after this upcoming season. And they're,
It's 24.
they're like, I have a feeling now no one's going to care about what region you're in and all this kind of stuff. That's how all these conferences practically started. Now they're just going to be 3 mega ones, and you're just going to try to combine these different scheduling systems.
Correct. I mean,
and it kind of sucks for the non-revenue sports. You know, they're having to pay a lot more to travel, but at this rate, it doesn't really matter because, you know, football's a big brand pretty much everywhere now.
Make it happen. I'd rather go to the Big Ten than the SEC.
Same.
Why is that?
You know, Austin made a good point. The national
National
exposure. You know, there's a lot of old money up there. There's a lot of, you know, their Big Ten network makes a lot of money. Different games, man. You know, different teams to play. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. This is what I feel.
Well, anything would practically be better than the ACC.
I think the history of the Big Ten too. I mean, you think about Michigan, you think about Ohio State, think about even Penn State a little bit. I mean, those are some of the premier programs in college football for
Wisconsin,
a century.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
But then it would also be fun to play Georgia, Bama, LSU. You know,
it would be really cool to play at LSU
with a good team, with a team that can make it to a bowl I'm just putting into like what we're dealing with here currently in Florida State. We're hoping optimistic. This is an optimistic podcast. We hope that things are changing. It seems like, things are maybe heading
you
that
look
way.
at that 2026 schedule. So
you're practically facing a mix of everything in that.
Bama, Notre Dame, Clemson. That's a tough schedule for 2026.
Yeah, hopefully. You think we'll all still be friends on here by then?
Dustin, no. But the others, yeah, we'll still.
I could see myself getting in like a car accident or something by then.
Jesus. Okay, what the hell? I was just about to bring up that we're going to be driving over to New Orleans. We just booked
there you go. Perfect opportunity.
Not with me involved. You do that on your own.
I don't know about being in the hotels by myself.
He'll burn his eyelashes with a vape and have to,
No, they got Juul got banned by the FDA, so I no longer own a vape.
So
I buried it. I buried it in the front yard.
In the front yard.
Well, 2026 it's not that far away, man.
I don't want to even think about it. I don't even want to think about it.
The schedule's insane.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a wild one. That's gonna be a lot of traveling. But yeah, we booked the Florida State LSU game over there in New Orleans. So if anybody's gonna be in New Orleans, make sure you come say hi. We'll do it. We'll figure out something. We'll figure out a bar for all of us to go to on the Discord and everybody.
What did we book?
If there's any listeners, we booked a hotel in New Orleans.
We did.
I'm rooming with Austin.
Did I not just set that in the group chat yesterday? This man does not read my messages. This man doesn't message right. Yeah, he doesn't check his messages. But yeah, so we'll see y'all in New Orleans. It's gonna be a fun one. Let's jump into some more stuff. Big time. I think I said this on the show last week. I was waiting for Derek Kearney to go ahead and pop the commitment because he's been on Florida State's campus more than I have, and I live here. It's pretty sad, but big time offensive line target in the 2023 class where Derek Kearney commits to Florida State, and Coach Atkins felt this one coming for a very long time. I think after the league camp, I said, I feel like this is a lock. Just the way he and Atkins vibe together and they gel. I just felt like he was already a commit already. He goes to UF, which makes it even better. He goes and visits there and says, nah, that's just not going to work for me. I'm going with Coach Atkins. Nate, you got to love this pickup here. This is a true talented offensive lineman coming in and has a really bright future. He just looks the part.
It's an exciting commitment for Florida State. He's been a primary target for them for quite a while. For him to have his location still in Gainesville and put out that commitment edit, gotta love to see it. But I talking to him, I think what was surprising was that they're bringing him in as a center. He can play any position, and that's one thing that when we talked after he committed. Coach Atkins is really pushing, versatility with his players. They got to be able to play multiple spots, if not all three. And the services have him rated as a tackle, and that's fine. But he's an interior lineman, and his focus now moving forward is going to be playing center. So, you have a guy who's 6'4", 310. That's a big center. And that's what FSU needs, man. He's smart too. He understands the game, and that's something that him and Atkins have really clicked on is the film and understanding assignments and what his role is. So, Florida, shared some things, in our group chat and on the Discord. Florida really misplayed this. They tried to make a run for him, but they did a really poor job. And, the way they recruited him showed him while he was on the visit why Florida State was the best option for him. So he knew while he was in Gainesville that a commitment was going to happen. So he shut it down. He's said it a few times now that he's locked in and he's ready to go.
Yeah, this is a huge grab for Florida State, and obviously Kearney instantly becomes the highest-rated commitment in the class, the first offensive lineman that Coach Atkins has been able to grab so far. in 2023, and he might have a chance at a second one here soon, and Lucas Simmons. But with Kearney, I mean, man, this kind of just felt inevitable. He's been at Tallahassee so many times over the last couple of months, and he's just developed a relationship with Coach Atkins that's probably unlike any other coach that is dealing with him in his recruitment. And those two are just very closely connected. And you could tell with some of his comments after visits that he was feeling Florida State pretty hard. And, he played us all a little bit earlier this month when he was saying, yeah, it's probably still going to come in December. And then bang, pops a couple days ago. And, yeah, it's just a really big grab for Florida State, and bringing him in at center, he could instantly possibly get playing time as early as his true freshman season. Caden Lyles will be gone. Maurice Smith should still be here. And other than that, I mean, maybe Thomas Schrader or Kashawn Sapp could also be in that competition for the center battle. So we'll just have to see. But I think he's a guy that's probably going to end up playing early in his career, and you're getting a hard worker. This is a guy who's already a champion in some weightlifting meets, and you can see it through his social media that he's been putting in a lot of work, and now it sounds like he's going to be putting on the recruiting hat as well for Florida State. So excited about this one.
I do think that he maybe genuinely wanted to take a little bit of time, but one of the big things for him was coaches keeping it real and keeping being honest with him, and going on a visit like he did last weekend. When coaches aren't necessarily forthright. I think he kind of knew that. I think that expedited the process. Because he said that. He felt FSU and felt that it was maybe the spot for him, but he was still iffy and wanted to check out some other schools. But I think that he had enough. So,
yeah, no, I like the kid's work ethic. I like the way he talks in interviews, and I like too that he wants to be coached, and everything doesn't have to be sweet throughout it. And I think he was wanted to come here and get developed by Coach Atkins. That depends on how long Coach Atkins is going to be in Tallahassee, but a lot of guys are relying on Atkins to be here for a while because they do want to be coached by him. So
should we get him on the journal?
Coach Atkins?
No. Roger, let's get Kearney on the journal, man.
That would be great.
Might as well. I don't really think he's much of a journal guy, though. He seems really down to earth, no BS, and just wants to play football.
Yep.
No, the only one that we could do this with next time is probably Lamont Green. That's probably going to be a Boots Jr. is what we'll have to have. But, really, really, really solid pickup. Being able to see him, at least we've seen him there for interviews, but whenever you see him out there competing and going through drills, that is a very impressive young man to see in person. Very impressive. DeMarco Ward, linebacker in the 2023 class, decides to go with Florida State and Randy Shannon out of Georgia. Ward is 6'2", 205, and Florida State definitely with a big-time need here at linebacker. What are y'all's thoughts on this? Because I saw a little bittersweetness, as usual, from Florida State Twitter. What are we feeling about the pickup here? Has its ups, has its downs. What are we thinking? Is this a steal? Is this a steal?
It's a linebacker.
I think that.
Okay, wow.
I think that Florida State does a good job of evaluating talent. The staff. I know they get a lot of knocks on recruiting, and there's a lot of stuff that you can, debate, have a legitimate debate about. Excuse me, but. And I understand, the questions taking a kid who, has some, G5 offers or whatever you want to call them. But they saw something they like. He's a sideline-to-sideline guy. He runs real well. A little stiff in some areas, but, he's someone that you put him with, Steve and I were talking, and he made a good point. You put him with a Kalen DeLoach or Omar Graham. I think that helps him. He has the build to get to 230. What you see on his highlight films, you see a smart player not afraid to get in there and get the job done. So, at worst, you got a special teams guy, but, the linebacker board itself is highly debatable. We've discussed it a lot here, but I'm okay with the take.
Yeah, and it really shouldn't come as a surprise after how fast Ward and Florida State pushed to get that official visit set up. I think it was less than a week before he made the trip. They got that all set in stone, and then they were able to host him and his family on campus for 2 days where he was around the coaching staff in person and some of the other visitors. And coming out of the trip, just mentioned that he enjoyed being around Coach Shannon and Coach Rodriguez, and that Florida State did a good job of telling him where he'll eventually fit in on the defense, which they basically like his versatility, and they think he can play multiple spots at linebacker, and that's just something they're going to continue to further evaluate once he gets on campus. But, you look at his recruitment, Florida State, the only official visit that he ended up taking before his decision, and coming out of the trip, he announced that he'd be committing, I think it was a day after he had left Tallahassee. So it was a little telling. And yeah, this is the first high school linebacker that Randy Shannon has landed, and we'll see how it pans out from here. Obviously, that board has been a little scarce to this point, but I think getting Ward is a good start, and he's a candidate to be a riser in the rankings throughout his senior season.
And I also think that, like defensive line last year, it wasn't a great class. I don't think it's a great class for linebackers this year. So while FSU has a need for linebackers, I also don't think it's a great year for linebackers. And you can do worse than getting a kid from Georgia, with a chip on their shoulder. I'm good with it.
Yeah, and with the way the defense is 4-2-5 primarily, you're probably not looking to take more than maybe 1-2 more linebackers max alongside Ward in this class. I think Bethune is the only rotational guy that'll be graduating after the fall. So there's still a lot of youth and talent that Florida State will have in that room for the coming years.
Yep.
And then Florida State still thinks they have a good shot at Nicholson, so we'll see what happens there. And he's coming off his Oregon visit. He's been to Oregon several times.
Hey, as long
we'll
as
see how that plays out.
Yeah, I was going to say, as long as he doesn't commit in the next 2 weeks, coming off that post-visit high to Oregon, a school he's been to so many different times, Florida State's going to have a real chance in that battle. It's going to be important to get him back on campus in the fall if they can.
Yeah, they've also been in touch with him since. So, he's told me a couple times that if the visit goes well, he'll be in Tallahassee for a game in the fall. So, Dustin said if it happens, we'll see what happens from there.
West Coast Noles, baby.
Hey,
bringing it back.
Shout out Jane Woodby. Shout out. Come on now, shout him out. Shout out Jane Woodby. All right, no shout outs for Jane Woodby. Florida State just recently wrapped up a big-time recruiting weekend. Dustin was out there in full effect for it all, but this ended up being a pretty good it's starting off good, but it seems like it could finish off even better, wrapping up with 8 official visitors in Tallahassee and Mike Norvell and the rest of the staff. They had on Chris Parson, Dalen Smothers, Samuel Singleton, 2 really impressive running backs there. You had Lucas Simmons, the Sweden guy that Florida State seems to be in a pretty good mix for. Lucas Simmons, Keldrick Falk, defensive end, Tavion Gadsden. You had DeMarco Ward, who, as we know, just talked about, committed to Florida State, and then defensive back Avery Stewart. Gentlemen, first thoughts after this big-time recruiting weekend. They were able to grab one more of them. How many more out of these names are they going to be able to grab?
All of them, but some others. I think it's legitimate.
That's crazy. That's crazy. It is. I mean, it is legitimate with the vibes coming out of the weekend. But I mean, if they were able to land,
the longer it goes, we'll see. Come off the visit high, but Smothers is Oklahoma bound. It seems like.
Yeah.
Singleton's always been quiet with his recruitment, but Florida State's always been mentioned with him, and he had a great visit. Lucas Simmons did, I think, a hell of an interview with the guys outside of the Moore Center. I think what he had to say, I think, bodes well for FSU.
We had to call him, actually. He didn't interview.
Well, okay, well, the call, whatever,
So you can say my interview that I did with Lucas Simmons was pretty good.
Yeah.
You can
well,
go ahead and
all
say
the
that.
interviews were good.
Look at that. So you got all your recognition. Make sure you give Dustin all of his recognition right now that he
great job being out there. By the way, I know it's a big weekend and it's hard work. Sitting out there for 12 hours, it's not easy. Good job.
Now, please stop the nice.
But anyway,
please stop the niceness. That was too much. Too much.
I think Stewart is a little, maybe the borderline where you may not get him, but Falk, I think Florida State feels pretty good on. You're not going to go 100%, but Florida State has a legitimate chance to land all of them except for some others. I don't know if you agree with me, Dustin or Austin. What do you think of Keldrick Falk as a recruit?
He's not here. He wasn't here with us. Thinking about life.
I do agree with you, Nate. It just seems crazy to say because I think like 4 to 6 weeks ago we were just talking about how Florida State had no momentum on the recruiting trail, and then since then, this month at least, you've landed 4 commitments and you've positioned yourself well with some of the top targets on the board at certain positions. And with this one, I really feel like Singleton, you've got to be feeling good about. He was a guy that didn't want to make a decision until after his season, and coming out of the trip, he said that the visit to Florida State was so good that he's rethinking those plans and might decide sooner rather than later. And sounds like 2 other contenders in that recruitment are Penn State and LSU. If Florida State gets the last visit before he commits, which it sounds like they very well might, I feel good about their chances there. Same thing with Lucas Simmons. He said he plans to decide. We did the interview on Sunday, and he said he planned to decide 1 to 2 weeks from then. So we're getting closer to that range. I traded a couple messages with him today, and he said that he's slowly getting closer to a decision. Doesn't have an official date for his announcement just yet, but that'll probably come in the near future. And the 3 real contenders there, in my opinion, at least, Florida State, Florida, and USC, those are the only 3 trips that his mom and dad were both on. And I've said it before, I'm a big proponent of the school that gets the last visit, and a lot of these recruitments where the decision comes so soon afterwards. So Florida State definitely has the momentum there. Keldrick Falk set to decide on July 5th, I believe. That one's FSU, Auburn, Clemson. You got the last visit. He was hugging Mike Norvell at one point and has a really good relationship with JP. He got to speak to some of the players this weekend and really just learn more about Florida State. And, they expressed the same thing that he already knew, how real the coaching staff is. So, FSU has a chance there. You mentioned Avery Stewart. He's deciding on July 6th. That one's a Florida State and Kentucky battle. Got the last visit. Tavian Gadsden, it seems like I think I already put in a prediction for him in our Discord, but it seems like he's another guy that will probably decide soon. And Florida State growing momentum over the Georgia Bulldogs at the moment. And I think we mentioned some others. He's probably going to end up at OU, it seems like. But Florida State did all they could on this official visit to impress him and his parents. And they're just going to come up a little short. And it's crazy. You look over at the running backs that Oklahoma signed. I believe he's either the 4th or 5th running back commit in the last 2 classes for them. So OU just stacking it talent on talent.
DeMarco Murray is one of the best running back coaches in the country.
Yeah. And Chris Parson.
Sorry. I'm sorry. This randomly just came up on my tweet deck, but Cooper Williams just retweeted Dalen Smothers. Where should I land tweet just now. Cooper Williams, as we do know, is a assistant offensive line coach for Florida State. Just retweeted out of nowhere. I don't know if he's listening into the show right now, and maybe maybe showing us a little sign of something here, but he just retweeted that on his account just now. Cooper Williams did. Anyways,
thanks for following the retweets. Anyway, Chris
I'm doing your
Parson-
job. Doing your job.
Chris Parson was the only official visitor not to interview on the trip, but he did spend a lot of time around tow cars, Norvell. Obviously, his family accompanied him throughout the trip, and then shortly after he left Tallahassee, he went up to Los Angeles for the Elite 11. And I think we posted the comments on our website earlier today, but he spoke with some of the reporters in attendance after day one and just went into detail on his commitment to Florida State and some of the visits that he's taken throughout June. And, just said he's still solid with the Seminoles. And I can pull up some of these quotes. Let's say something.
Falk is awesome. The way that he can move his arms and hips really fast is really good for a football team on the defensive side. And he has really long wingspan.
Okay, so going back to Parson real quick, he just got asked about the Mississippi State visit he took, and his comment was they have a really good staff in Mississippi State, but they all understand that I'm committed to Florida State and that I'm a Seminole. And he was asked if his recruitment is shut down after taking an unofficial visit to Mississippi State, an official visit to SMU, and then an official visit to Florida State to cap off the month. And he said, like I said, I wanted to be at Florida State. I'm committed to Florida State. I've been committed there for a very long time. It's always been my dream school ever since I was a kid, way before Jameis Winston. Florida State is where I want to be. That's where I want to play. So it seemed like he's been pretty clear with his comments about where things stand with Florida State right now. And that's just something we'll have to continue to monitor moving forward. It looks like he's put himself in a pretty solid outing at the Elite 11 finals last couple of days.
Well, I hope Florida State holds on to him because I think that his game is a fit for, what college game, is about, stretching the field, either with your feet or your arm, putting stress on the defense. And I think he can do that really well. I know FSU wants to, competition, iron sharpens iron. And, like you said, he's out there competing with, guys that FSU is targeting and, purposefully trying to show who's better. So I like that. I hope he sticks because, he's been the bell cow and whatnot. So, we'll see how it plays out. Florida State's been honest with them. I think that, the visit was purposeful when it happened. I think Florida State knew they had to get him back on campus, make it an official and go from there. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't see that going any other way right now.
Yeah, no, I've not been off that he's planning on a decommitment. That's just not the vibe that I've been getting. I think there's definitely some things behind the scenes, and we've had multiple conversations. And
comments are being spammed, Logan. If you could,
there's some interesting stuff being commented here. Right here. Let's go and get
this guy.
Naked HD XYZ, and I'm not going to say the rest. Definitely not going to say the rest on that. But that was our first time there. We have bots with some interesting.
Oh yeah,
names.
Man.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Logan, what are you doing on the?
I don't want to know what's going on the YouTube account, guys. I want to look what I'm looking up. But no, I think there's a lot of things behind the scenes and whatnot that's going on, but the communication between Florida State and the Parson family has been on the same line there. And I don't think it's a good thing from Florida State's fan base to maybe push off a kid that I think, like Nate said, would work very, very well. And the offense that Mike Norvell runs and is talented and has a really high ceiling. And so I just don't see a decommitment happening.
Well, the fan base is bitter after what happened with Travis Hunter and then Marvin Jones Jr.,
Do we have to say the fan base, though? Because, it's select people on Twitter. It's not the fan base. It's a couple shitheads, which everyone's got them.
Yep. It all depends if you can block it out or not and just move on with it. But, I think things are going to be just okay. And
you can't let those shitheads sway you.
No, that's right. You can be strong on the football field, but you got to be even better mentally. That's the quote of the day right there. So we'll keep an eye on it. But I think after that official visit, I think that helped tone down a couple things, and we'll jump and talk about it in a minute. But he's doing very well with the Elite 11 competition right now out there in LA. Dustin, what do we have left on the docket for these official visits? Any last guys anybody else on here that Lucas Simmons, I feel like, could pop at any moment. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you were paying attention earlier, I said that on Sunday he told me that he'd be committing within a week or two. So we're getting closer to that timeline.
Damn.
He doesn't have a firm date just yet, but he is drawing closer to a decision. And, I mean, Florida State's right there. They've been in this recruitment for the long haul. Alex Atkins obviously offered Simmons whenever he was still in Sweden. And it does remind me, one of the interesting things they did on the visit. So a year ago, Lucas Simmons came to Tallahassee for Florida State's first mega camp. It was either one of the first or the very first time that he had ever met Atkins in person, and obviously worked with him on the football field as well. And during the visit this past weekend, Florida State showed him a video of that mega camp and how he was going through some of the drills and wasn't necessarily doing everything correctly, and then showed Atkins coming up, working with him, making the corrections, and him going through the drills right. And from what he told me, that has put everything into perspective with him for how long Florida State has been there and how much he's grown since then and how they were there from the very beginning. And I think that meant a lot to Lucas. That relationship with Coach Atkins is probably one of the very best in his entire recruitment. I mean, this is another one where Atkins has really blown it out of the park. And if they do land Simmons, this is a true bona fide left tackle who already rated very highly on all of the recruiting websites and everything, but he's really just beginning to find that feel for his game and just beginning to unlock that potential. And I mean, he could legitimately be a first round NFL draft pick before it's all said and done.
I mean, Florida State could have a lot of momentum here within 10 days with possibly Simmons and Stewart and Falk. The last two are making decisions here within the next 5 days, so 5-6 days. So it's going to be interesting.
And I think Gadsden could very well come in the next month. Samuel Singleton. It could be a very fruitful July. We're talking about 4 commitments in June. You might get more than that in July, and you're going into the football season with some real momentum on the recruiting trail. You come out strong out of the gate. You position yourself well with some of those top targets who are going to be committing later down the line. Guys like KJ Kirkland, and there's plenty of others as well.
Damn. And then now what, the recruiting dead period is in place on July 25th. Does that end tonight? Or does the recruiting?
So the dead period went into place Sunday at midnight, and now it'll be into effect until the final week of July. So basically, Florida State will not be able to host anybody on campus, but they can still communicate on the phone and everything like that. So basically not going up to the Moore Center for a little bit, hopefully.
I hope not.
Well, you better not, even if there's a need to, because that means,
Whoa. Watch out there. Yikes.
Taking a little summer vacation before they kick off practice. And after the dead period, Florida State, they're planning to hold some sort of end of summer recruiting event on July 30th. So that's notable. And I'll be reaching out to guys, and I'm sure Nate will as well throughout the month to kind of formulate a little list. But
I'm gonna come to that.
That should be when we're starting to figure out when. That should be around the same time Florida State's going to arrange their beginning of fall camp.
I think it's going to be a couple of days into camp, I would think.
Yeah, because Florida State's, as we know, season starts in week 0, so we get to get things kicking a little bit earlier. So we're less than a month now than fall camp, less than 2 months overall from kickoff.
It's coming up
in Tallahassee with Duquesne. So it's coming quick. That was a busy month. And this is the last day of it. And I'm honestly glad. VZ, you've been waiting all night for this. You've been waiting all night for this. Well, yeah. Give it. We need the Elite 11s, Elite 11. Yeah, just give us the quickest.
Let's skip it. Parsons doing good.
Parson did great. Glenn, we don't even know.
Yeah,
really
one quick sentence on every quarterback.
Yep, there we
that
go.
Florida State's involved with.
Glenn has been up and down a little bit, and Collins has been real good with accuracy drills. But I think out of the three, it seems that Parson has actually done better overall.
Logan, ban the comments again.
We just gotta ignore it. I don't know how many accounts. Bro. I blocked them. There's more of them coming.
Yeah, Parson won the rail shot challenge on, I think it was Tuesday, and then Ricky Collins won a challenge last night, and Brock Glenn, he's had some good performances and also some down performances. So I'm not quite sure. Today was the last day of the event. They wrapped it up with kind of like a 7-on-7 type of competition between the quarterbacks. I'm not sure if they've named the final Elite 11 because this was 20 quarterbacks competing for 11 spots to be named in this class of the Elite 11. They did announce the winner earlier, who was the Oklahoma commit. Nate, what was his name? Jackson Arnold. So he won it, and not sure if they've released the rest of those spots yet. But Parson, it sounds like all three of those guys have set themselves up well with a chance to make that team. So we'll see how it shakes out.
Best of luck to them. Let's jump into some basketball to finish it off because VZ's been waiting for this. No players drafted in the NBA draft for the first time since 2018. Am I correct on that?
Yep.
Tough scenes here, but Florida State's, looking to get him some new guys. We put out a piece earlier this week regarding one guy, the sophomore, with Jalen Worley projected to go in the first round. So maybe that will change, but at least in this NBA draft, no Noles picked, and really at all. Not in the first round. I'm not trying to roast. I'm not trying to roast, but I'm just saying.
It's the way you said it.
Yeah. I mean, we got football. We got first rounders going now. Jermaine Johnson.
It's Thursday night was a long night for me because I was like,
I watched the whole thing too.
Same. I'm like, even if Butler doesn't get drafted, surely he'll get picked up. Pretty soon after the draft, he was kind of on that borderline cusp of being drafted, and here we are a week later, and he's still not signed. Not even a summer league bid, not a exhibition 10 contract, not a two-way deal, nothing. It's been really, really silent regarding.
How bad is that advice?
Horrendous, just absolutely terrible, to the point where I've been told by a couple people he's fired his agency. I know that's not completely public knowledge, but let it fly. That just sucks for the kid. How many times we talked about just the potential this kid has, and here we are 2 days from summer league starting for at least a few teams in California, and he's still not even on a summer league roster, much less European options, G League options, anything like that. And I know Malik Osborne got a Cleveland Cavaliers summer league tryout. I know Polite's with the Spurs. And then Raekwon Evans just signed over in Sweden today, but it's tough. I did not think a week later Raekwon Evans would have a team in Europe and John Butler would not have a team. It's the facts of the matter.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Tough.
I don't think any of us could have foreseen this coming because I've been adamant. I didn't think John Butler was going to get drafted, but I did think he was going to get a two-way or something. And he didn't have the best performance at the NBA Combine. It's kind of unknown how he did during these personal workouts with different NBA teams throughout the last couple of weeks. But for it to be like this, it's
sorry,
very surprising.
The guy's 7'1", 140 pounds.
That's what I've heard, is that the weight scared a lot of teams off, but to still not even have a tryout is insane. I think there's there's a rumor floating out there that he got hurt before a workout. That may be showing some substance now, since he's not been signed on a week later. He's definitely the biggest name that hasn't been signed. And like Nate was mentioning, he's 7'1", 174 pounds. I am 6'1" and 175 pounds. Like you can't live at that weight at his size. You just can't. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm very curious to see what the future holds for him. I know Dustin mentioned his pre-draft workouts a little bit. I know there was one workout that he did not make it to, that him and his agent backed out of last minute. And once that happened, I kind of had a bad feeling that something's not going the way it's supposed to be going, whether it's injury, whether it's, teams have been telling him you're not being drafted. So I really don't know, but it sucks for the kid. It really does, because he has such a bright future ahead of him. I just think they rushed the process a little bit. He's made it infinitely harder for himself than he really should have had to.
Yeah, it's an all-time bad decision, because now who knows where or if he's going to land with an NBA team. And he had a chance to come back to Florida State, continue to grow his body, be in an even bigger role than he had as a true freshman. And I mean, instead, it's worst case scenario, probably even worse than he could have imagined. I mean, just insane.
Yeah, I don't follow the basketball program like you do, Austin, but like, do you ever see this kid making the NBA now?
It's tough. I mean, slim to none, pretty much. I mean, it's definitely not impossible. I mean, because look at guys like PJ Tucker, who, even as someone that was drafted, played in like 6 different countries before he ever got, solid rotation minutes with the Suns in the mid-2010s. Patrick Beverly, same way. Spent a lot of time overseas. So it's certainly possible. But, PJ Tucker and Patrick Beverly also wired a little bit differently than almost everybody else, as guys that just do not play around. Those are 2 guys you do not want to mess with. Again, Butler's half of PJ Tucker's weight. So I don't know. It'd be really, really difficult, but nothing's impossible in this day and age of basketball.
Yeah.
So what's the path? Europe, G League?
For someone like him, I think Europe would be better, just so because Europe's they were super used to these weird, tall, lanky white kids, and refining their skill sets. They can do the same thing with a guy like John Butler, who's a much better athlete than a lot of these people. I think that would be the better route, just so you can refine a skill. But the decision-making process hasn't exactly been the best the last 3 months for him, so who knows? And I know a few people have asked it. There's zero possibility of him going back to college. It can't happen anymore.
Yeah.
That deadline passed weeks ago.
Tough scenes there. Hurts FSU, also hurts him, so nobody won.
I mean, does it really hurt FSU? I mean, because they moved on instantly to Baba Miller, who's just as talented.
Could you have 2 Babas? John Butler and Baba?
In this situation, it was one or the other, because the roster was finalized, then Butler goes pro, and they're like, okay, let's go get this Miller kid from Spain. I mean,
I think Miller's better
within 2 weeks. I think Miller will be a better player for sure. Whether he's better at Florida State, well, I think he will be, but you never really know until he's actually playing and actually on campus too.
True. And then Malik Osborne and Anthony Polite, they signed summer league deals,
which I wasn't too surprised about. The Malik Osborne deal was pretty much finalized the night of the draft. They just waited until the morning to announce it, which I'm not surprised by. That's a guy that works really hard. I'm sure he impressed in a couple workouts. Good luck to both of them. Summer league's brutal, especially for guys coming out of Florida State system. That's such an unselfish system, and now you have to go in the summer league where you kind of have to be selfish to show, hey, I can play at this level. It's gonna be kind of tough for them, but they're certainly talented enough, and they have skill sets that the NBA can't get enough of right now. As guys that can defend 3-4 positions, shoot the 3 really well. They can certainly make it. I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, I mean, the odds are definitely stacked up against them, but I think Malik has a better chance than maybe Polite if he can come back from that ankle injury, but it's just tough to break it into the NBA when you're already 23, 24 years old, and they put so much behind potential and developing guys. And, there's this mantra that guys that have played in college basketball for 3, 4, 5 years, they've already peaked. They can't continue to improve, which I think is kind of a lazy argument because, most basketball players don't hit their prime until normally 27, 28. So
I think the biggest thing against them is look at when they'd be hitting their second contracts. Like a lot of these guys that are getting drafted, in the lottery, they're only 19, 20 years old right now. So by the time they hit that second contract, they're only 24, 25. And then by the time they hit that end of that contract, they're still 29, 30 with plenty of basketball left ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
If you put that same argument with, these older college basketball players who are 24, 25 entering the league, by the time they hit their second contract, they're already 30. So you don't have as much control over them for the duration of the prime. I think that's more of where it comes from.
Gotcha. Man, it's tough. And basketball, obviously, we talked about Raekwon Evans, too. He's got an opportunity there in Europe, which I've learned through the years of you being on the podcast, that pays pretty well, and you seem to be in some pretty good spots, too. Oh, shit. I played the wrong sport.
There's a lot worse places to be than Sweden. I'll say that.
Yeah, no joke there. But then FSU, I mean, that's a big-time grab here, a top 104 with Taylor Bowen. He's now the first one inside of the 2023 class to commit to Florida State. Pretty big pickup here for Leonard Hamilton and Florida State. This is kind of what Florida State does, though. It just seems to be the above average guys that you're going to always be able to land, it seems like.
I mean, yeah, just like we talked about last week, just prototypical Florida State guy, lanky, wiry, super explosive athlete that can guard multiple positions. Offensive game still growing, but, so is every other forward that Florida State's got in the last 4 years. He's going to fit right in. I really, really like this pickup. Would have been great if he could have gotten his teammates to come with him, but we'll take one of the two for sure. Bowen's definitely no slouch, and it's a good start to the 23 class. For a while there, looked like we were going to get Anthony Robinson as well, but he just committed to Coach Gates and CY in Missouri,
stealing them,
snatched him right out of Florida High, right out of Florida State's nose.
I'll go put a lock on the gym.
I know Dustin's upset about that one.
Yeah, Dealer, what are you doing, man?
Well, his head coach is Charlie Ward. I mean, come on.
What are we doing here?
This is two straight Florida High kids too.
Yeah,
because you had was it Trey Donaldson?
Yeah, Trey Donaldson.
Two straight.
But from that side, it was more of the football staff.
Yeah, but still, it was one of. I feel like in both situations, basketball kind of got into the recruitment a little bit late because didn't they just offer Robinson like 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
So like in both situations, I think they just got into it too late.
Yeah, I mean, football side, basketball side. What are we doing with the local recruiting, man? I mean, they're right down the street. They're right in your backyard.
Raylan Wilson,
like you said, Robinson has got the offer. Florida State, they kind of were hot and cold on Keon Brown. Yeah, you mentioned Raylan Wilson, but I mean, even Cameron Upshaw. And I mean, it goes back the last couple of years. For some reason, the talent that's right around the university not getting a lot of looks. And when they do get a look, it's too late because some national power has already showed them the interest that they wanted from their hometown school. So it's a little frustrating.
Raylan Wilson's not quite over yet.
What do we? Don't think think Florida State's fully out of Wilson? I don't think. I heard some rumblings. I was on a show last night with one of our friends, James Coleman, and said it's not fully over yet for Florida State's relationship with Raylan Wilson. So we'll see. That's the linebacker that just decommitted from Michigan. So he goes to school at Lincoln here in town. But Florida State missing. I mean, Charlie Ward, what are we doing? We gotta get Charlie back on here. We gotta.
They did get that long snapper though from
huge,
like Childs, right?
Tighten up, Charlie, man. Come on, bro. Tighten up.
What? They're not talking about me, right?
I'm talking about Charlie Ward needs to tighten up.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. No, I don't have a lot of work with at a Childs to use my tactics to get them to land at FSU. Dustin has quite a few over there at Florida High, but he shouldn't be at the Moore anymore. He needs to be over there at his old campus, his old stomping grounds.
Apparently, the Florida State coaching staff needs to go over there before 2 weeks ago.
It was because we'd heard from a couple people with Robinson that once they offered, they're all over him because he'd had a really good AAU circuit. Coaches were hot on him. I think he had a good because Florida State just hosted their team camp a couple weeks ago too. And I heard he put a couple good performances there. So it's one of those, once they're on him, they were on him. I just think it was too late.
One last thing here from Tom on Facebook. Our guy's asking if Coach Ham has a bad season, is he on the hot seat? I have a take on this too.
How do I put this? You would think no. Just I think Ham at this point deserves to go out how he wants to go out. But at the same time, we've seen Alford does not play.
Yeah.
And he's going to do whatever it takes to make Florida State a winning environment at every single sport, not just football. He's going to go get the best option. And, and we also have to consider, like, what are we talking about with a bad season? Are we talking about, on the bubble, barely missed a tournament? Are we talking completely bottom out, which I don't think is going to happen, barring another injury-riddled season like last year? I think this is a team that's, top 5, top 6 in the ACC as long as they stay healthy. They've certainly got the talent, they have better shooting than last year, which is important. We'll get into that in a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, bottom out would be like 12 wins, right?
Yeah, like going like 12 and 21.
I don't see with the talent on the roster that it would be that bad.
I agree.
Unless your top 8 players are out for the year.
It's kind of like last year, where it's a lot of inexperience with guys that you're going to rely on, but hopefully they start to gel by January. I know we kept saying this all last year. Just give them time. They never got that time last year because everyone was hurt. Hopefully this year they have that chance to gel and play together in normal games. That's going to be a huge factor. And, there's that big tournament in Orlando with a lot of good teams down there. They'll have a chance to prove himself.
I'm going to say that was my first time being down there during basketball season in the press box, Austin. So maybe I need to remove myself from the press area and not be down there to cover more.
You quit going to games.
Well, I didn't. No, I didn't really quit, but I go up there. I can't drink a beer.
A couple games in a row, and you're like, I'm not going.
I can't drink a beer at the press box. I can't do that. Sadly, that's just not really permitted. I don't know if it's against the rules, really, though, but I don't think it's really professional. So I'd go and you offer the tickets up there, and I go sit up there with you. And Maddox goes down there and covers it. So, but I do take a little bit of the blame. So then I ultimately just quit going and would just drink at home. So, yeah, that's what I did. Anyways, hopefully Leonard turns things around. We love Leonard Hamilton. But, yeah, Coach Alford is not playing.
Coach Alford?
Coach. He practically is now. I mean, damn. Ripping everybody's – give me your damn contract. Get out of here right now. You think you're worth more than this. Get the F out. Congrats about the baseball team that picked up big time links there from Notre Dame. Yep. That's a big time grab.
If the football season goes sideways, it does make me feel a little bit more comfortable. With the hires he's made, that the right hire would be
he's
decided on and would be.
He's gotten pretty much every number one option so far.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it would have been great to keep Coach Krikorian with soccer, but, I feel like he rebounded pretty well on that hire. Link Jarrett was a phenomenal hire. I think Coach Wyckoff with women's basketball was the right move.
Soccer coach?
That's what I mentioned first.
I had another name.
As you can tell, nobody on this podcast listens to one another at all.
He held on to Lonnie over that push from Texas.
Texas A&M tried to get him. Yeah. Tried to get her.
It was huge. So
I was just saying things way too fast there.
Alford really does
normally do.
Alford does not play around, and he's got a history of being the alpha dog no matter where he's been, and he's going to get his way. And I think that's big because we've kind of had a push over the last few years.
I'm okay with that.
I am too.
Me too.
Me too. Anyways, I think that's going to wrap it up. This was definitely a long episode. Definitely appreciate Marvin Bracy hopping on here with us. Best of luck to him competing in the 100-meter World Championship representing the United States. I'm excited. I'm excited for that race. I'll be definitely tuned into that. I think with the kind of, if he gets a good heat and he gets a good off, man, I feel like that's a podium. If not, man, I'd kill for him to get like silver or gold. Ooh, that'd be badass.
I feel like you looked up track synonyms before this episode and are just throwing out.
I competed in track, asshole. I competed in track, so that's kind of, I know the lingo a little bit. So, anyways, D'Lo. I also saw D'Lo at the gym today. Nate was putting in some work there. He's putting in some work. It was weird seeing him. Okay, you don't have to say now which gym I also go to.
Planet Fitness on North Monroe Street next to.
All right, everybody, let's wrap up the show. I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's
Logan
week.
goes
Enjoy
about
July
12
4th.
to 2 p.m.
God, Jesus. Please don't show up.
If you want an autograph, he'll be there wearing some stupid hat. So,
but he will have wristbands to give out.
I will have wristbands, and I like doing autographs in the bathrooms. Anyways, everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy July 4th, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Adios, guys. Appreciate it.
You gotta cut that out, dude. That's awful.
Mama told me not to say a word. 17.5, same color t-shirt. Mama told me not to say a word. 17.5, same